Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing Love is Blind France Season 1, Episodes 5 to 7. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe and hit the bell, and leave a comment down below. So we pick up where we left off with Kim and Thomas having this argument about him not defending her when she was coming at Charlie and Julie's relationship. So they have a conversation off to the side. I actually thought that the night was over, because it seemed like they were back in their hotel room. But no, they just left the party and then went back to join the party. But anyways, the biggest issue that's happening here is the fact that she doesn't feel like she was protected by her partner. And Thomas feels like she's throwing in his face that he reminds her of her ex, because apparently her ex used to do something similar. He feels like she is just starting issues, and she's making him feel like he purposefully shunned her in front of people when that wasn't the case. Honestly, from this whole disagreement, I thought that would be the final straw. I thought, considering their lifestyle differences, considering their communication differences, like everything just seems mismatched with these two. I honestly thought this was going to be the final straw for these two, but not only did they make amends, they woke up the next day in the same bed, being in high spirits, and apparently Kim did apologize. I thought she would have been too prideful to apologize, but she apologized, and I think Thomas said he did as well. Child, that wasn't the only shocking thing that happened. Not Cynthia and Jonathan walking through the door and joining the cocktail party. I said, Rooks? Excuse me? I thought y'all would already be on the plane. I thought we're already, our bags are already checked. Our seatbelts are buckled. What's happening here? So anyways, these two are trying to work on their relationship. And I feel like if you are trying to work on your relationship, then you have to be strategic about how you explain the conflict that you have with your partner, right? So she's talking to the worst girls she could talk to. She's talking to Sabrina and Kim, basically saying that he was upset over a petty argument they had about her heels and whatever, right? I feel like because it is something so petty and you're realizing that, maybe let's not paint a picture about this man who you obviously want to be with and you obviously want to work on your connection with, because other people tend to hold on to that grudge longer than you do. And when you forgive him, they haven't, So, yeah. Anyways, he's also talking to, I think it was Charlie. He talks to him off to the side, and he says the problem that he's having with Cynthia is that she's a lot more condescending than he initially thought, because she didn't present that way in the pods at all. I mean, I feel like, what's his name would beg to differ. What was his name? The black guy. I forget what his name was. I think he felt like she was a little bit condescending, and what's the other word that Jonathan was using? That she's inconsiderate. I feel like that guy would also feel the same. But truthfully, when Cynthia was with Jonathan, she was on her P's and Q's. So I'm not shocked that he's a little bit bamboozled by how she's acting. Now, he feels like she doesn't do enough introspection. I don't think he does either. I think he's got some insecurities that he needs to unpack too, because where something, yes, could be an issue, but doesn't have to be as big as it is, I think that he too blows things out of proportion. Like, yeah, sure, she wasn't hearing what you were saying in terms of the shoe that you wanted her to wear, but it was a bigger issue than the damn shoes. And mainly it was coming from you. Child, speaking of petty, later on, we see these two get into more arguments over the dumbest things. So Cynthia doesn't like the fact that Jonathan hums while he eats because it irritates her. Don't get me wrong. When you first get to know somebody, the ick is very easily caught. Very easily caught. But girl, be so for real. Humming when he eats. You acting like he's smacking. If he was smacking, I'm with you. He's humming. He's happy. He's at least enjoying his food and your presence. I don't think it's that big of a deal, girl. Not at all. They then have another little tiff about whether or not he is friends with exes, right? So he was trying to elaborate. She didn't want an elaboration. She wanted a straight answer. And he was trying to say, I'm not going to cut off a friendship with somebody just because we explored a romantic relationship like for a very short amount of time. Our friendship was deeper than that. But then he's also saying, out of respect for you, I would never put you in a situation where I have an ex in the room because that's disrespectful. Like, I feel like his explanation made sense if he was allowed to just elaborate on it more. But the way that Cynthia is just so cold, so short, girl, see the lady. They both got to see the lady. They both got to talk to a therapist. They have so much to unpack regarding their past. And Cynthia's past has been like a hot topic this last week. Apparently, she's been through a lot of traumatic things after her parents passed and stuff. And not that I don't empathize, I just find it hard to use that as a reason as to why she's just so cold and to just excuse her behavior. Because, putting her business out there, my mama had a similar story. Not to the parents passing, but to all the other stuff. And my mama don't act like that. I just feel like, yes, trauma's not your fault. Healing is your responsibility, though. And that goes for the both of them. What makes it worse, too, is she said she knows she's cold. That's what she does, typically, when she doesn't get her way. And that's her way of protecting herself. Well, think about how it's translating to the person who you're trying to be in a relationship with. Especially because after she's so cold with him, she's then going to be chummy with him, trying to get back with him. Girl... So I want to believe in Tatiana and Yanick, but it's just not clicking. It's just not clicking. And it gets worse as the episodes keep going on. In this episode, though, basically they were opening up about their past, right? And he was talking about his mom. This is something that he typically doesn't talk about to a lot of people. So the fact that he's talking to Tatiana and getting emotional is big for him, right? As he's talking to the cameras, he's getting emotional again. He calls Tatiana over and he asks her, how do you feel about me getting emotional? Was that weird to just me? Is somebody else in the same boat as me? Because I was just like, why you gonna cry and ask somebody, how do you feel about me crying? Okay. Something about them gives me the impression that they have something to prove. Last week, it was this whole black love thing. This week, I don't know what it is, but like they're constantly trying to prove something, which makes the relationship seem disingenuous to me. They later have conversations about where they're going to live, right? And obviously, Tatiana has a son. And so her life is dependent on where his village is. Yanick feels like he's now being forced to live somewhere that he doesn't want to live. And it's like, hold on. You knew she was a mother. You likely knew that her life will revolve around his life because that's what parenting is about. So why now are you making it seem like you're being forced? She doesn't have a decision. If anything, she is being forced to stay where she's at. And he's like, oh, I just feel like, we shouldn't rush into this decision. Like, why can't I live where I'm at and you live where you're at? And she's like, I don't believe in long distance marriage. Same. What are you talking about, Yanick? The couples meet up again and Julie is still struggling with the physical aspect of her relationship, but she claims she loves him so much. How that work? How does that work? Because I could not imagine telling my partner I love him, but then we're not able to sleep in the same bed and I don't find him physically attractive and I'm almost repulsed at the fact that he wants to get freaky with me. How that work? But she says she loves him so much, so okay, whatever. Sabrina's also having trouble in the physical department. Bless her heart, she says that she is the one who's taking it slow. And I was like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? But apparently, later on, Vanmi commends her on expressing her feelings towards him. So maybe she was taking it slow. She said she needed more time to see if he truly was the one. And I guess now that she's expressed her feelings, she believes that he is. But yeah, they're also still trying to figure out this whole physicality thing. We then see her say that real relationships are the ones that take time. The couples that just jump into the sack real quickly, we don't know if we could trust those. It's the people who, take their time. Cynthia's like, let me tell you right now, I'm not waiting for marriage. Okay. I'm gonna do the nasty when I want to do the nasty. And then Tatiana was like, I watch Yanick take showers. Like, I'm very attracted to this man. I'm very aroused by my partner. And the women were almost like shocked. And I'm shocked that you're shocked because, baby, you're supposed to get married in a matter of weeks. What do you mean you're not like sexually drawn to this person? I get not wanting to have sex, but at least the desire's gotta be present, no? We're starting to get some weird energy from Alex. He is being very standoffish with Chloe, right? And she's trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, but anything she asks him, he pretends like it's fine. He's like, oh no, I'm cool. Oh, I'm having a great time. Oh, I'm enjoying our honeymoon or whatever. He then asks himself a question saying, do I think that I'm giving as much as you are, right? And it's a question that he was asking himself, but Chloe did take offense. She walks off, he follows after her. And basically he was just saying, I'm just doing a self-check, right? I feel like there could be more that I'm doing, but I'm not doing it and I don't know why. I think you do know why. And he goes on to say, I don't think you truly can fall in love with somebody in a matter of weeks. I don't think it's natural to want to marry somebody in a matter of weeks. So no. A lot of these people who come on freaking Love is Blind are so annoying because they'll be like, oh, there's no way I could marry somebody in a handful of weeks. So why come in a process where that's the objective? That's the premise of the friggin' show. And you don't even believe in the premise of the show. So he's later getting irritated with Chloe because Chloe was making plans for him to meet her family without consulting about it. And I do understand this whole like, okay, well, it would have been nice for this to be a group decision. But he, in response, says he's irritated because he thinks that they're moving too fast. You're getting married in a few You're supposed to declare your love for this person in a few weeks. He feels like that's impossible. There's no way that you could fall in love with somebody in a few weeks. He'd hate to see me come in. But if this is your stance, don't come on a show like this and waste somebody's time. Cynthia and Jonathan have yet another tiff. And at this point, wrap it up, okay? It's not working. Cynthia keeps saying she has to examine if they're in a toxic relationship. And at every turn, it proves to be that. This proves to be a toxic relationship. So anyways, they have an argument. We don't even know what the argument is about, but we can assume how it went because of the previous arguments that they've had. He initiated the conversation to break up, which she wasn't happy about, but honestly, it needed to happen. In this conversation, he says that she plays up to the cameras. She's one way when cameras are rolling, and she's kind of like mean, vindictive, condescending, controlling when the cameras aren't rolling. I'll be so honest with you, I believe it. The girl has been through a lot. Losing your parents young, being in essentially a cult, dibbling and dabbling in a lot of spiritual things that just, warp your perception on things, being in bad relationships in the past, having these abandonment issues. It all stacks up in negative ways. I still believe it is on her to now unpack that and find healthy ways to cope with everything that she's gone through. But like, the girl's been through a lot. Yeah, okay, the girl's been through a lot. And honestly, if he's not ready to handle that, then he needs to step aside. I do think it's her journey to do, but as a partner, you're going to be walking alongside her, right? And if you're not prepared for that, call it quits, okay? She, on the other hand, has things to say about him. She feels like he is insecure, and she feels like he is codependent. I can see that too, because from the pods, I was like, there's an insecurity here with this man, and I felt like he was still jaded from past relationships. That codependency kind of makes sense to me. He was so adamant on not giving himself the same way that he's given himself to past people because he doesn't get that in return. So he might want to just latch on to somebody and make sure that they are just doting after him the way that he would like to be doted after. She's looking for him to be more caring, compassionate, understanding, or whatever, but he's looking for that first from her. And she's not going to do that because of her past. And he's not going to do that because of his past. And they're going to continue to clash. I actually think that these two would have potential if they went to therapy. Joint therapy and individual therapy. There is so much under the surface with these two. Until they resolve it, I don't see this relationship or any relationship working out. The couples move in together back in France, and we see Yanick and Tatiana go to one of her salons. A shout out to her. You own multiple salons? Period. And he meets the employees, and he loves seeing her in her element because for him, he says he wants to be like enamored by his partner. He wants to be amazed by his partner. And so seeing her be this boss lady that she is really gets him going, you know? The only issue that he has is the fact that she has a lot of her on her plate. And he's concerned if she'll be able to juggle everything that she's got going on and then add a relationship on top of that. I get what he's saying. I do. But she told you about all her business endeavors in the pods. She told you she's a mother. And truthfully speaking, she seems more invested in this relationship than he does. So I'm wondering, like, are you looking for a reason to break things off? Because at this point, I don't think she's been different from how she presented in the pods. I think she's exactly who she said she was. Maybe you weren't prepared, and that's a separate conversation. But don't now flip this on her to be like, oh, maybe she's just not ready because she's got too much going on. Don't speak for her. Speak for yourself. And truthfully speaking, like, you're coming into a ready-made situation, right? You're going to be an instant dad. Instant. If you're not ready to support her with all that comes with being a mom and being an entrepreneur and you know, discovering a new relationship, a new marriage, leave now. If you're not ready to support her through that, leave now. Things continue to escalate between them when they find out that they have a mutual in common. So one of her best friends happens to be his ex. Like, these two are not meant to be together. There's just so much working against them. Hang it up. Hang it up. So apparently his sister-in-law hooked these two up. I don't know how long they were together, but it was significant enough for him to call her an ex. And so Tatiana feels away because she's like, well, I don't want her to be around because now I'll be thinking, oh, are you guys reminiscing on your good times? Are you guys trying to rekindle and stuff like she's very uncomfortable with that. She says typically she would cut him off because she's not into this messy stuff. But because he's not making it seem like it's that deep, she believes that it's not that deep. So she's choosing to just, you know, let it be whatever it is. If that's the case, let's test the theory. Put them in the same room. Put them in the same room. That's what I would like to see. Oh yeah? It's not that deep to you? She's not that important of an ex? Let me see y'all interact together. Yeah, I would have to see it. One of the couples was hosting like a housewarming. I don't really remember who it was, but all the couples come over and they're debriefing how the first few days of living together in the real world has been. Already we're seeing Van Mee and Sabrina implode. And I said, what is going on? So both of them don't see each other as their typical type. She never imagined herself to be with an Asian man. He was more into like dark features, a more Mediterranean aesthetic. I don't know what that means, but that's what he's into, right? Apparently. So they had a disagreement about who decided to have the conversation about seeing each other's exes, right? She thinks that he did it unprompted. He says he did it after she asked to see his exes, right? She also has an issue with the fact that he hasn't been properly complimenting her. Although, you know, she wouldn't be his first choice, she is attracted to him and she's making it clear, right? And she says, I mean, outside of saying I'm cute, like you don't really say anything past that, right? You tell other people now in this room that I'm gorgeous and you're attracted to me, but you've never told me that. I can understand why that would piss her off. I could definitely understand why that would piss her off. Don't be, you know, expressing yourself to other people when I'm the one in a relationship with you. Tell me. Now, the problem is Van Mee has seen Sabrina's possessiveness. And I feel like he just doesn't want to say that he doesn't like her personality. He doesn't want to say that he doesn't like her as a person. Maybe, yeah, the attraction is not there for him. That's fair and fine. But beyond that, who she is, how combative she can be, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it at all. And so somebody who's so reserved being with somebody who's so boisterous, like he's self-destructing. Then they're having this big blow up in front of everybody. It's really awkward. They walk away to try and have the conversation. Why the heck does Sabrina throw in the fact that this man is interested in Kim? I said, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. And it's not even the fact that he's interested in Kim. She believes that based on what he's used to dating, he'd be into Kim. And so now she's in her head because she feels like he has eyes on Kim. Sweetie, whoa. We have jumped to so many conclusions here. Like, he's trying to tell her, you're the most beautiful girl out of all the girls here. Like, I'm not checking for any of these girls. She doesn't believe in one bit. Sabrina, you got to seek help. If the man ain't tell you that and the man actually hasn't, like, shown you that he's interested in the other women, why are we making it a thing? And then we have Kim herself. She's not checking for nobody else. She's worried about her own situation. She has her family coming through to meet Thomas, and she's worried about his appearance, how he dresses, the fact that he has tattoos, because tattoos have a connotation, like a negative connotation to her family, and the fact that they come from different worlds. Honestly, I was expecting Thomas to have a really hard time with Kim's mom. It was great. She loved him. She said that he is polite, ambitious, and down to earth, which is the kind of man that she wants for her daughter. I say, girl, what were you stressing about? It seems like, on the surface, Thomas is a good guy. Now, Thomas has some demons that he has to sort out, and they're going to show up later. But as of this conversation, they were in a good place. They then all attend the engagement party, and some of the pod people return. Immediately, we're seeing some of the women, think a little bit harder about the decision that they made. Sabrina is looking at Julian, and she says that he is her type, and that is somebody who she would have approached on the outside. We also see Kim looking at Clement, and she's like, oh, he's polished. He's put together. That's what I like. She decides to have a conversation with him, and she says, honestly, on paper, he was absolutely perfect, but she was looking for an emotional connection. And so that's why she was leaning more towards Thomas. And you know what? I do think that if that emotional component is not there, then, maybe cut your losses with that one. But if it's only emotions and the logistics of your relationship don't work, maybe that's a problem too. Honestly, looking at her and Clement, they do suit. And I think maybe if she would have allowed herself to open up to Clement, they could have gotten to a place where that emotional aspect was matching with the criteria that she was looking for on paper. But she didn't allow herself to get to that point with him. And here we are. We see Charles and Julie both anxious at the fact that Sarah is about to come to the engagement party, right? And they're anxious for different reasons. They both decide to have a conversation with her, especially because there's this big elephant in the room. Like, how's Sarah gonna react? How are they gonna react when they see Sarah? As soon as Sarah walked in, everybody's looking at the two of them. So, of course, they need to address the tension, right? Turns out Charlie did message Sarah, which she predicted. And like she said, she did not respond. Charlie, I don't know what you thought this was like. I think he was trying to explain himself. You should have explained yourself in the pods. And as much as I believe he made the right choice, the fact that he agreed to her ultimatum and then went back on his word is a problem. The bigger problem is the fact that the ultimatum was issued in the first place, but whatever. The fact that it was issued, you agreed to the terms and then went back on it, that's a problem. He says that he doesn't regret his decision because Sarah was more closed off than Julie was. Sarah believes the only issue she had was talking about sex, but he says it was more than that, and I believe that it was more than that too. She did seem very standoffish in general. But yeah, he says that she's a beautiful girl, but he likes where he's at, right? Julie also has a conversation with Sarah, and she is still offended at the fact that Sarah painted her as the Love is Blind France slut of the show. And she's like, well, based on what we were told was going on in the pods, that's the impression that I had. And that's the impression that all of us had. We all thought you were a bimbo. I said, oh my gosh. Oh my, how disrespect this girl. And you think you weren't picked simply because somebody else was more sexually free? No, you are nasty. You have a nasty attitude. She does admit that she jumped to conclusions, but she's not apologetic whatsoever. She feels no way that Julie was offended. Luckily for Julie, I don't know what sparked this advancement in their relationship, but she and Charles ended up having sex. Was Sarah the last roadblock for them to, get over that hump? Or did that get them going? I don't know. Listen, I don't know what led them to get to that point, but they have now consummated their engagement and they are better because of it. Jonathan and Cynthia arrive at the party. He's dreading seeing her. She's excited. So much so that she wears a revenge dress because she's trying to get him back. I said, wait, hold on. She wants this man back so badly that she dressed up in a way to get him going. She's then going to be very touchy-feely with him. And she's going to pitch that, they could rekindle things. And I'm thinking, you just called him insecure and codependent. Not a lot of people bounce back from that. And that's the thing with Cynthia. If you are dedicated to making it work with your person, I would be careful about how you talk about them, about how you paint them to other people, how you say things to them. Like, that's the part that I don't understand with this girl. You want him back so bad after you said nasty things to and about him. Are you good? Like, anyways, she says that she wasn't given enough time and she feels like he gave up at the first sign of trouble. Respectfully, if we're having this many issues so early on, what's the incentive to stay? There is no incentive to stay, Cynthia. If in the first few days we're quarreling every day, I'm leaving because I'm seeing what it's going to be in the future. Like, oh my gosh, I need this girl to talk to a therapist immediately. She says that sometimes she puts her ring back on because she still misses him. She's obviously getting touchy-feely with him. She's complimenting the way that he smells. These two are toxic. So toxic. It seems like they're going to try to work it out. I don't know why. I don't know for what reason, but all the best to you, I guess. A girl named Anais joins the party, right? And she has a bone to pick with Thomas because apparently she is a friend of a friend who he used to date. I think that's how it is. So she realized that he was dating this girl shortly before coming on the show, but on the show, he presented as if he had been single for a long periodically time, right? So that's going against what he told everybody. She pulls him up on it. He doesn't deny knowing the girl, but he says it really wasn't that deep. Like, I wouldn't even call her an ex or anything. Yeah, we were talking, but like, it's not that serious. So Anais wanted to make sure she got Thomas's version of things before she went to Kim. And when she told Kim, of course, Kim is pissed. Kim is livid, okay? This man presented something. It turned out not to be true. She has an issue with that. So when she's now trying to call Thomas out on his behavior, he starts spiraling. He immediately gets defensive. He does not like the fact that he's being held accountable here. Like, he's denying. He even goes so far as to say, oh, well, this isn't working out. You're making it difficult for me. I think we should just end it. Oh, I'm making it difficult for you because you presented false information. You came here under false pretenses. And I'm the one ruining things. I'm not holding you accountable, not even in a malicious way, but trying to get down to the bottom of things. And now I'm the problem. And you want to end things because of me. Nah, bro. He apparently has been saying a lot of like flippant things over the past few days. He said the notary was dumb. He says this conversation is dumb because he wasn't even that close to this ex, but apparently he and her like talk every day, but okay. He said that she just wants to make things work because all she wants is a wedding. Yo, Thomas, yo, there's a lot of self-sabotaging in this selection of French people. To the people living in France, is this what the dating scene is like? I'm so sorry. Like, a lot of people on this show need some healing, my lord. So anyways, they're at odds, right? He says he wants to end things. She obviously doesn't just want to end things off of one tiff, right? So he calls in somebody who's a father figure to him. He tells the father figure, we haven't been speaking. I don't even think she's going to show up if I ask her to show up, but she does because she respects family and she feels like if somebody came all this way to hear about their relationship, she owes them audience, right? In this conversation, I was irritated because Thomas and the father figure were saying that Thomas has been through a lot. And because of that, you know, he can't help the way that he acts and he should be owed grace. I think it's a nuanced conversation. I mean, we've been talking about it throughout this review, right? Like, yes, people go through things, right? And as a partner, if you're deciding to love them through this stuff, that's a commitment that you're making. You're going to have to love them through it. But that does not excuse your behavior. And it sounded to me like these two were excusing his behavior. And I didn't like that. Trauma's not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. Okay, you've been through a lot. Let's find a way to cope. Let's find a way, like, to work through that stuff so we can show up in a healthier way instead of self-sabotaging things that don't need to be sabotaged. I'm not your enemy, I'm your partner. Like what are we doing here? So after a few days, he apologizes via letter. She accepts. She also apologizes for her stance on whatever. Basically, she tells him, just because we have issues doesn't mean I'm walking away from you. And he is like, yeah, sometimes I fail to express myself properly, and I'm not just going to run at the first sign of trouble. Yanick and Tatiana really stole the show for me, okay? So they are doing the prenup, right? And he has an issue with signing the prenup because he feels like you marry a person, not their finances. Let me tell you something, Yanick, okay? The person I marry better have a good relationship with finances before I marry them. It's not to say that I'm marrying their money, but I need to make sure that they're at the very least good with money or make enough money to be good with. Whoa, sir. Especially as a woman, a single mother at that, she needs to make sure that her partner's money ain't funny. And if she is making more money than him, that he's not just gonna run to the bank now that he's with somebody who's up. No, we're not doing that. So she's like, listen, if we were in Africa, because we're both African, you'd be fitting the bill. But because we're not in Africa, I'm not gonna put that responsibility solely on you, but it'll be mainly on you. It will be. And he did not like that at all. He feels like, she's reducing their relationship to just finances. And that's not the case. She could have presented it in a different way, but I didn't like the way that he was just so defensive off the bat. She's adamant that she does not believe in this 50-50 stuff. And so they're leaving that conversation still irritated, right? Apparently, he had planned a date that he couldn't show up to because he was playing soccer with his friends. She showed up and she proceeded with the date because the person had already, set up the situation, right? They were doing like a cologne workshop. So she didn't want to waste that person's time. She stayed. Now she's upset about that. When they meet up with her family, all of this tension comes to a head. Obviously, Tatiana's mama knows what's been going on. The way she rips this man a new one. Oh, Tatiana's mama was not impressed with Yanick whatsoever. She was upset at the fact that he didn't want to sign the prenup. She feels like that's because he doesn't see a future with them. And I will say, I know some people are averse to prenups and stuff, but to me, I'm looking at your reaction to the prenup. If you're very adamant against signing it and you can't give me a valid reason as to why, I'm looking at you sideways. Absolutely. She then rips him another one because he didn't show up to the date and she feels like he's wasting her daughter's time. I forget what else she was upset about, but all of this non-compliance is not flying with her. Not at all. So Yanick is trying to keep it cute. He's like, oh yeah, I know the mom doesn't have bad intentions. And that's what you have to say. But you could tell he is irritated, both with Tatiana and with her mama. And y'all remember in the pods when Tatiana was like, oh, people don't want to date me because I'm a single mom, or I've been married before, or I'm 39. It's more than that. And we're already seeing that your mama might be a contributing factor. I think the mom even said, if I say this marriage isn't going forward, it's not going forward. You're telling me at your big 39 years old, you're going to let your mama run your life like this? All right. The girls go to try on dresses. Y'all should know by now, I don't really care for this section of the show. But we see Tatiana tell the ladies she's not going to put anything on. On the guy's side, Yanick is actually trying on the suits. He seems to be hopeful that things will sort itself out, or maybe he wants to humble her at the altar. I don't know. But Tatiana's like, I'm not putting on a dress. So I don't know how they're going to end things. It has to be before. I don't see them walking down the aisle at this point. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, they got to cut it. Honestly, Thomas and Kim have potential, but they need to work out their stuff. Cynthia and Jonathan, stop it. Stop. Break up. Yesterday. Okay? Who else is there? Chloe and Alex? Yeah, Alex is being weird. I actually was believing in their relationship, but he's being weird, talking about, oh, there's no way I could fall in love with her in this time. Okay, so go home. Sabrina and Van Mee, cut it. Oh my gosh, who's gonna get married? Wait, there's got to be somebody I believe in. Oh yeah, maybe Charles and Julie. I think they have the best potential at this point. But everybody else, no. No, no, no. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.